3 weeks. That's all it took. Only 3 painful weeks. The story you're about to hear is not in any way gentle because it begins with a man who simply wanted to be loved and ended with a
little more, that's great.
So ordinary that it would change everything Harry thought he knew about the woman he married. Let's start from the very beginning so you understand much better. Harry didn't know why he kept staring. But I really don't think she would be in the position she's in without Marcus Anderson. Fairy tales don't come with receipts. That Meghan Markle wouldn't have the level of global fame. Love stories don't have guest lists that read like corporate directories that she enjoys now, or infamy, depends how you look at it. And princes aren't supposed to wonder if their weddings were business meetings in disguise. 'Cause I knew that in those early seasons of Suits, they pretty much weren't on the map with many people. And I couldn't see that Marcus Anderson would necessarily meet her. Yet, here was Prince Harry staring at a yacht photo that refused to leave his mind. Not because of Meghan's smile or the Mediterranean sky, but because of one small detail hidden in the background. A navy blue canvas bag stamped with gold lettering, Soho House. According to reports, Harry zoomed in on that bag over and over until his hands began to shake. And I doubted that she would have the cash to be at the opening night party. What? It wasn't just any yacht. It was part of an elite social network where Meghan had thrived for years and where Marcus Anderson, her closest confidant and wedding guest, held unusual influence. And they reported on the opening night of the Toronto Soho House. Fans online later claimed Harry had discovered what insiders already whispered. This wasn't romance born in secrecy. This was positioning for Harry. The discovery was devastating. He had believed his marriage began with a blind date arranged by a mutual friend. But when he started cross-referencing old photos, charity donors, and guest lists, the story of fate collapsed into a trail of evidence. Commentators speculated it was like peeling back the wallpaper of a palace only to find a stage set underneath. What Harry saw in those images made his blood run cold. Meghan photographed at Soho House, Istanbul in 2015, already surrounded by European businessmen he'd later see at his charity events. Meghan laughing at a Barcelona rooftop party in 2014 with 2 men Harry had once faced on the polo field. Now, I would assume that if the cast from Suits were invited to that opening night founding members party, which is the most, that is the party, that is the one that you want to get into if you're going to ever be anybody. Reports suggested Harry even found names of charity donors who'd appeared in those same social circles with Meghan years before she supposedly met him. The contradiction was staggering. While Harry believed he was introducing Meghan to his world, fans online claimed she had been orbiting it long before, armed with access, introductions, and a network of people who seemed to know exactly where he would be. And at the center of it all was Marcus Anderson, described by one archived article as the man who makes sure the right people meet. The cliffhanger that now haunted Harry was brutal. Had his marriage been engineered like a chess game, every move deliberate, every introduction strategic? Or was it all coincidence dressed in suspicion? What Harry didn't realize was that the deeper he dug, the more the pattern would expand beyond yachts, beyond parties, beyond even his own wedding guest list. And what he uncovered next wouldn't just threaten his trust in Meghan, it would fracture his view of his entire life. Harry's search didn't stop with the yacht photo. According to those close to him, it became an obsession. Night stretched into dawn as he scrolled through archives, zooming into images, matching faces with names. What began as a single clue turned into a mosaic of connections. Meghan's presence in rooms Harry thought were his alone. Fans online began piecing it together, too. When a Reddit thread mapped out Meghan's appearances at different Soho House events alongside Harry's polo matches and charity galas, the timeline lit up with overlap. She wasn't stumbling into his world, one fan posted. She was rehearsing for it. Another viral tweet compared the situation to a Hollywood script, captioning an old photo of Meghan at a polo after-party with Season 1, "Get into the club," Season 2, "Meet the Prince inside Montecito." The effect on Harry was visible. So, we've got Prince Harry at the top of the tree. That's what I want you to imagine. And then we've got Meghan Markle needing to build branches to climb up on to get to the top of the tree. Reports suggested he was restless, pacing through his home office, stacks of printed photos, and highlighted guest lists scattered across the desk. Staff claimed he asked detailed questions about every single person. Meghan met in Los Angeles, demanding to know if they had ties back to Marcus Anderson. The paranoia was no longer hidden. Insiders speculated Harry's unraveling was fueled by a deeper betrayal, the voicemail he replayed from his brother William. Years earlier, Palace security had allegedly flagged Marcus Anderson as a social strategist, someone who positioned ambitious women within elite networks. William had warned him. Harry had ignored it. Now the realization hit like a delayed detonation. Public reaction turned fierce. Commentators compared Harry's situation to past celebrity implosions. From Hollywood stars who married their publicists to actresses whose careers rose through studio fixers, tabloids ran side-by-side timelines showing Meghan at Soho House in 2014, then appearing at events linked to Harry's circle just months later. The question hanging over every headline was brutal. Had Harry been chosen, not chased? Yet, the tension wasn't just in the press. In Hollywood, whispers grew louder. Sources told Page Six that studio executives were suddenly cautious about Meghan's branding deals, worrying about how much of her authenticity was now under suspicion. Commentators speculated Netflix might quietly reconsider long-term commitments if the public narrative shifted from royal rebel to strategic climber. Through it all, Harry's own reaction raised even more questions. Was this the behavior of a man uncovering a devastating truth or of someone spiraling into paranoia? Fans debated endlessly. Some said he was finally connecting dots everyone else had ignored. Others argued he was inventing patterns where none existed. But the real tension was only beginning because the deeper Harry dug, the more he discovered names, faces, and transactions that tied Meghan's past to his present. And when he learned how her lifestyle had been bankrolled years before they met. And I've been fascinated to see the amount of branches that were built. Now, if they were built or just happened by lucky chance, serendipity, well, she's a very lucky girl. The story shifted from coincidence to something more deliberate and infinitely darker. The cracks widened when Harry asked a simple question. How had Meghan afforded it all? The memberships, the flights across Europe, the designer wardrobes. He knew what her suit salary had been. The numbers didn't add up. And according to a contact with ties to Soho House Toronto, the answer was chilling. Meghan had never paid. Her membership stretching across multiple continents had been quietly comped through corporate accounts. Reports suggested Harry pressed further, demanding to know who sponsored those accounts. That's when Marcus Anderson's name resurfaced. Not as a friend, not as a wedding guest, but as the man who had made sure access was never denied. Commentators speculated it wasn't generosity, it was investment. Meghan had been given the keys to elite circles, funded, guided, and strategically positioned. Fans online latched onto the financial angle. A viral TikTok broke down the math. An international Soho House membership in 2015 cost over £1,500 a year. Add 5-star hotels during yacht weeks, luxury travel every few months, and wardrobes worth tens of thousands. The estimated lifestyle price tag hovered around $80,000 annually, more than Meghan's entire suit's income. One caption summed it up brutally: "You don't climb a ladder that fast without someone holding it steady." But the revelation that shook Harry most wasn't about money. It was about his wedding. One restless night, he pulled out the guest list. For the first time, he examined Meghan's side with suspicion. What he saw made him feel sick. Out of 200 names, more than 60 had direct ties to Soho House, executives, members, regulars who had been photographed with Meghan years before she met him. What he had believed was a celebration of love now looked in hindsight like a summit, a reunion of the very network that had elevated her. What he saw made him feel sick. Out of 200 names, more than 60 had direct ties to Soho House, executives, members, regulars who had been photographed with Meghan years before she met him. What he had believed was a celebration of love now looked in hindsight like a summit, a reunion of the very network that had elevated her. Palace security had warned him years earlier. They had identified Marcus as a strategist, a man who positions women within elite social circles. They had flagged Meghan's presence at events linked to Harry's world long before the so-called blind date. William had begged Harry to listen. He hadn't. Now, the truth he had ignored was staring him in the face. Meghan hadn't just been prepared for his world. She had been rehearsed for it. And the handlers who made it possible weren't gone. They were still in the background guiding the next act. The breaking point came in the kitchen. After days of silence, Harry finally asked the question that had been tearing him apart. Was Meghan still in contact with Marcus Anderson? Sources claimed Meghan's reaction was immediate and chilling. The warmth vanished, her face hardening into something Harry had never seen before. "He's my friend. Of course, I talk to him occasionally," she said, arms crossed, her tone flat. But it wasn't the words that shook him. It was the cold calculation in her eyes, the refusal to deny what she knew she couldn't. Fans online seized on leaked retellings of this confrontation, dubbing it the Montecito standoff. Memes spread comparing Harry to a detective in his own home, uncovering the case too late. One viral tweet read, "When she won't deny it, that's your answer." According to insiders. Harry pressed further, his voice cracking as he listed every discovery: the Istanbul photos, the Barcelona parties, the wedding guest list, William's voicemails. "I know Marcus positioned you. I know this wasn't random," he said. Meghan's response was silence. Reports suggested she simply stared at him, detached, refusing to give him the closure of a lie. That silence echoed louder than any denial. Commentators speculated it was the moment Harry realized the fairy tale was gone. This wasn't just about a marriage under pressure. It was about the possibility that he had been the project all along, the carefully chosen endgame of a network that turned ambition into access. Inside Hollywood, the whispers intensified. Publicists allegedly warned clients to avoid being photographed with Meghan at upcoming events, worried the handler narrative was spiraling too far. Studios, according to trade outlets, began monitoring sentiment more closely, nervous that Meghan's deals could become liabilities, and royal commentators noted how eerily similar Harry's kitchen confrontation was to past royal scandals, moments where silence spoke louder than anything said. But the most dramatic shift wasn't in the press. It was inside Harry himself. Staff claimed he began interrogating every business meeting Meghan scheduled, demanding names, cross-referencing faces with the old Soho House network. Reports suggested he even checked her phone twice, discovering encrypted messaging apps he couldn't access. When he demanded passwords, Meghan dismissed him as paranoid. Fans debated endlessly whether it was paranoia or proof. Was Harry unraveling under pressure, or was he the only one willing to admit what everyone else suspected? A viral TikTok summed up the cultural mood. When your prince turns into Sherlock Holmes, you know the fairy tale's broken. And yet, even as Harry pushed harder, the unanswered question noted at him. If Marcus Anderson was still in the picture, then what was the next move? Because if Meghan's rise had been orchestrated this carefully before, what stopped it from continuing beyond him? Fallouts in royal history have usually played out on palace steps, in courtroom battles, or in tabloid headlines. But this one is different. It's playing out in Montecito behind closed doors with Harry pacing hallways at night while Meghan plans the next stage of her empire. Reports suggested Harry has become consumed by the fear that he was never the destination, just a rung on the ladder. Staff allegedly described him as sleepless, interrogating Meghan's schedule, demanding to know who introduced her to every new contact. One insider even claimed he now refers to Marcus Anderson as the shadow in the room, convinced every meeting connects back to him. Meanwhile, fans online are divided. Some frame Harry as a tragic figure who ignored warnings until it was too late. Others mock him with memes of detective boards and red string, captions reading, "When you finally realize the fairy tale came with a business plan." And red string, captions reading, "When you finally realize the fairy tale came with a business plan." The cultural split mirrors the deeper question: is Harry paranoid, or did he stumble onto one of the most carefully constructed social strategies in recent royal memory? Industry voices haven't stayed silent either. Commentators speculated that Netflix, Spotify, and potential brand partners are now weighing the optics of their alliances. Authenticity sells, one PR strategist told The Times. But if the public begins to believe it's manufactured, deals worth hundreds of millions could evaporate overnight. In Hollywood, whispers of handler culture, the unseen figures who pair rising stars with power players, are gaining traction. Meghan's story has become the case study. And across the Atlantic, royal commentators see a darker irony. William's warnings? Once dismissed as jealousy, now read like foreshadowing. If the palace security reports were accurate, one commentator noted, then Harry walked into a trap with eyes wide open. That makes this not just personal heartbreak, but institutional embarrassment. For the monarchy, the implication is devastating. A prince convinced love guided him, only to later wonder if strategy had scripted every step. The cultural ripple effects are already clear. TikTok threads draw parallels to old Hollywood fixers. Fans debate whether Meghan's next run could be political. And podcasts dissect whether Harry is unraveling or waking up. The stakes aren't just about one marriage. They're about what happens when private networks like Soho House blur the lines between romance, strategy, and power. This leaves Harry in the loneliest position of all, trapped between admitting his family was right or living with a gnawing suspicion that his marriage was never his own. Because, if Marcus Anderson still answers Meghan's calls, then Harry's story isn't finished. It's just paused, waiting for the next reveal. And that's where we leave the question to you. Was Harry the player or was he always the prize? If you don't want to miss what happens when this story takes its next turn, from Montecito kitchens to Hollywood boardrooms, hit subscribe, tap like, and make sure you're here when the next chapter drops. Subscribe to Behind the Crown YouTube channel for more updates like this.